What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Former 4 division world champion Adrien "the Problem" Broner has a problem in his last fight getting people to watch his fight. Only 304,000 TV homes tuned in to watch his fight with Jovonnie Santiago. It averaged 288,000 TV homes, and it peaked at 304,000 TV homes. That was a far cry from the numbers that Oscar Valdez versus Berchelt did. That fight on ESPN did over, I think it did around 866,000 TV homes. So it basically doubled that and then some. So everybody was excited about that fight. That fight was a true 50-50 fight. You had two fighters in the prime of their careers fighting and meeting up. I did a video about that fight. I called it Eric Morales versus Marco Antonio Barrera 2.0. And the fight, even though it was kind of one-sided as Oscar Valdez dominated, it still was a very exciting fight as Miguel Berchelt had his moments. He was able to basically have Oscar Valdez on his bicycle for the majority of the fight, but Oscar Valdez boxed circles around him. He was able to fight when he wanted to fight. He was able to tie up Berchelt and basically negate his offense and basically beat him with more explosive power punches that he was able to counter aggressive Miguel Berchelt, who didn't have that much power in his shots, didn't really do that much damage to Oscar Valdez. But Adrien Broner, he's suffering from fighting a nobody. Jovonnie Santiago, take nothing away from the guy. The guy fought a brilliant fight. A lot of people thought he won the fight, but he just didn't have the name recognition. And I think a lot of people are sick and tired of watching Adrien Broner get into a fight and not throw his hands. We've been talking about this time and time again. You got to let your hands go, and he fails to do that in all his big fights, and pretty much ever since the Marcos Maidana fight. And even in his heyday, he wasn't a guy that threw a lot of punches, but he took advantage of beating smaller guys in smaller weight classes. He was able to get his weight down to make those smaller weight classes, and he was able to basically be a weight bully. And he was able to beat smaller guys, but he kind of got exposed actually in the Paulo Malignaggi fight when he moved up to 147, which was probably more closer to his natural weight. And he struggled in that fight as he won a split decision victory over then champion Paulo Malignaggi in a fight that pre-fight buildup was epic, man. Those guys was going back and forth. It was one of the best trash talking press conference that you see in the history of boxing, man. Those two guys were unbelievable. Both of those guys have great personality. Both of them have great charisma. And both of them know how to talk trash with the best of them. So the pre-fight buildup was actually better than the fight, and the fight actually wasn't that bad. It was actually a very interesting and intriguing fight as it took place, as Paulo Malignaggi had his moments and Adrien Broner had his moments. But ever since then, he's been struggling to get that big win, as he's beaten guys like John Molina and Adrian Granados. But when he stepped up to fight the elite level, he's lost to fighters like Sean Porter and Mikey Garcia. But you look at even the Mikey Garcia fight with Adrien Broner, that fight was on Showtime. That fight did well over 900,000 TV homes. And then the fight with Adrian Granados did around 800,000 or more TV homes. And even the fight he did with Jesse Vargas, that did around 800,000 plus TV homes. But now here it is, 2 years in activity, and people that just seen the movie before, the Adrien Broner movie, a guy that won't let his hands go, and they know how it's going to end. He's going to win a very close decision or lose a close decision, and he'll, either way, people going to be like, why you didn't let your hands go? If you let your hands go, you would have won in a more convincing fashion, or you wouldn't have lost that particular fight. And that's exactly how this fight played out. He was able to win the fight. I thought he won the fight because he landed the more cleaner and more effective punches. I thought his punches did more damage than Santiago punches did. Santiago did a good job of going to the body, but you look at the two cuts over his over the same eye. Those were good jabs by Adrien Broner that was connecting his straight right hands that busted him open twice over one eye. So I thought he was able to squeak out a very close fight. I think I had it 7-5 for Adrien Broner. I thought he picked up the pace after the 6th round, and he was able to eke out a close decision. But I can see how some people might have had that fight a draw, and then some people might even have Santiago winning that fight 7-5, or maybe even by a wider margin. There was a lot of close rounds and a lot of rounds that Santiago landed more punches, but I just thought the more effective, the more cleaner punches were landed in more rounds for Adrien Broner in comparison to Jovonnie Santiago. But this is going to put a lot of pressure on Showtime and Steven Espinoza to match Adrien Broner in his next fight with a name. You know, a lot of people saying that the Regis Prograis could be a next fight, but everything I'm hearing and what Adrien Broner said in the post-fight press conference, I don't think that's going to be next. I think they want to get maybe one more fight in before taking on Regis Prograis. They're looking at that maybe as a pay-per-view fight on Showtime. But I think he's going to have to get a name. Now, the guys that they were mentioning before he settled in on Jovonnie Santiago in his last fight, those guys didn't have big names either. A lot of those guys I had never heard of, and a lot of the even the hardcore boxing fans hadn't heard of. They finally settled on an even more obscure fighter in Jovonnie Santiago. But the guys they were mentioning before him that he was talking about fighting, those guys were not well known. So I think if he's going to fight a name at 140 pounds, the name of that will be looking at is Victor Postal. That's the fight they need to try to make. You know, it'll be a difficult fight for Adrien Broner, a fight that he very well could lose. But a guy with a name, a guy that's done a pay-per-view with Terrence Crawford, you know, even though that pay-per-view did not do that great, but he's a guy that's been in big fights with Jose Ramirez. He's been in real big fights. He's been in top-notch fights. And so he's a guy with a big name. He's been in there with Lucas Mathise, stopped him. So he's a guy that's been in there with some real decent opponents. If I'm not mistaken, he fought, who did he fight? He didn't fight Josh Taylor, I don't think. Was it Taylor or was it Regis Prograis? One of those guys that when they met up for the undisputed at 140 pounds, one of those guys beat Victor Postal on their way to that particular unification undisputed matchup, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, Victor Postal's been there with some top quality names, and I think if they looking to match him up with a solid name, but a guy that he can beat if he let his hands go. Because Victor Postal is a very good boxer, very long reach, very tall guy. But it's a guy that with a name that maybe they can, you know, that will sell better on a Showtime telecast with him and Adrien the Problem Broner. But they go to another guy that they was another no-name guy, one of the guys that they was previously going to settle in on in this fight this past Saturday, and they end up settling in on Santiago, whatever the other Latino fighter that they was talking about fighting that was undefeated. They settled on him, or other guy they was looking at during that period. That, you know, you can look for similar numbers than you got tonight. Now, then you got it this past Saturday night. Now, I don't think it'll be that low, considering the fact that they was going against the Valdez versus Berchelt. I think that hurt their ratings. If they can get on a date where they're the only fight, but I still don't see him going back to his old numbers of 900,000 or 800,000, a high 700,000 that he did with Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas, and Adrian Granados. So we'll see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But that's, again, his numbers were very, very low, and that's going to give Steven Espinoza and Showtime Boxing a lot to think about, and who they come up with as his next opponent for Adrien the Problem Broner. Let me know your thoughts about his low. Get low. Low. Yeah, it's very, very low pay-per-view numbers. My bad, very, very low numbers in U.S. TV homes. Let me know your thoughts about Adrien the Problem Broner and his low TV ratings. And let me know who you think he should fight in this next fight to help boost his ratings and get higher ratings on Showtime in his second fight from 2 years of inactivity. Let me know your thoughts and subscribe to JB Sports. First of all, hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.